Hey guys, happy to be here on Digital Dragons. Here is my presentation: how to build a healthy and effective community without money, volunteers, and sympathizers. How to find them, how to manage them. So I am Arsenii Dudinov. I help game companies build strong communities and receive amazing profit from them. And today I'm going to give you an action plan on how to build and manage your community without money. So I'm going to give you 9 steps to make your community helpful and profitable. If you are attending this presentation, you probably know that building your community is critical to advance your game. Did you know that researchers say a community can boost your retention, re-engagement, and in-app purchases up to 50%? At first, let's sort out some things and define some words in order to be on the same page. And of course, I would love to start with the word community. So, what is a community? The community is a group of people united by some ideas and actions. So, for example, vegans are united by the idea or even action not to eat the product meat. For example, players can be united by the action play your game, or can be united by the idea to hate developers because they release something to increase the monetization but not to speed up the progression. Also, players can be united by the idea to share some fan arts, to participate in esport events, to hack the game, and many more things that are coming up to your mind right now. Changes in your product can influence your community, and your community can influence your product. But usually, the community has no numbers, no analytics, and no game designers, and no game studio at all. Therefore, a community is always secondary, and in your hands, give it a bit more weight to maximize your KPIs. In your hands to make the voice of community a bit louder. So, what is a community for? And the answer to this simple question is also simple. Only you can decide. I mean, literally, only you can decide what kind of work the community will be doing for you. So ask yourself 2 questions. First of all, what can my community do for me? Beta tests? Maybe. Bug reports? Okay. Feedback on balancing? Works. Or maybe even create the lore. Or maybe even all together. So the second question I want you to ask yourself, what each community member can receive from being a community member. Maybe some secrets, some gossip from the game kitchen, or even unique skins. Only you can decide. I give you a general idea. For example, you can share your best battle replay in our Discord channel, participate in a contest, and receive some hard currency. What each community member can receive in this case: hard currency, respect, advice, friends, maybe even your clan. And what do you expect from your community in this case? If they stay in your community after this contest, maybe they will share some feedback on features. Also, you can expect retention and re-engagement tools like your community to be these tools. So I will also give you a more understandable example. What does a basketball club give to fans? Adrenaline, the feel of belonging, emotions, wins. Nice. And what does a basketball club receive from fans? Sold out, empty fan store, and support all game long. I hope it's clear, but we will check one example more, which is more from gaming industry. So my colleague always uses the community in order to help game designers make the right decision. He tells players the product is gonna change. So depend on how you take these changes, the changes stay or disappear. Of course, it's more time consuming in terms of development, but it could help you to, for example, slightly shift meta to engage new players and to re-engage the veterans. I hope it's clear. That's why we are moving to the next point. So, what does it mean, healthy community? I put healthy into the title of this preza, so I want to give you my definition of what is healthy community. So, healthy community is a place where you can get what you need and be accepted by other community members. I will give you a few examples of healthy communities. For example, Last Day on Earth, or Seaport Game, or Age of Empires. These community are healthy because it's super easy to be accepted by other community members, and it's super easy to get what you need. For example, tips or friends or whatever you want to receive from this community. We also know examples of toxic community. I don't want to seem rude, but I believe everyone understands that, for example, Dota or Overwatch, these games have kind of toxic community. So the next point I want to explain about definitions is productive community. So what does it mean, productive community? Productive community is a community that generates whatever you need in volumes you need. Let's say your game is a real-time strategy. Are you interested in some cyber sport tournament? Or your game is a super skilled based platformer? Are you interested in somebody who will be filling your YouTube channel with some tips, hints, and advanced jumps? Maybe. Or just imagine you decided to develop the game fully based on the ideas from your community of indie game enthusiasts. So you need this idea and feedback, right? Okay, small pause. We've done with the theoretical part and definitions. You did it, guys. Nice job. And let's move to some practical cases, which are more useful, I believe. So, how to build a community? Basically, there are two ways, reactive and proactive. Reactive way is to develop your game and wait. If you succeed enough, somebody will create fan pages. So you will need only to set relationships with admins of these fan pages. But in this case, you of course won't be able to create your own rules and lead your community how you want to lead it. So I would call this way is a weak way. And the second way is proactive way. And during this presentation, we will be mostly talking about proactive way. So we all remember that the product, the game in our case, is the first. So the best way is to give people the link to your community and also give them some motivation to join your community. For example, you can explain to people why it is profitable to join your Discord channel or Facebook page, to win something, to find friends, to know more about your plans. And don't forget that you always can give them, let's say, 50 gold for joining. It's okay because this is how you can lead your players to your community. That's how you can grow your community. So the question, link to what should I give to my players? Where should I create my community? So I will give you a couple of tips. How to choose your social networks. First of all, pick those social networks where you are going to acquire users as a cover. For example, post some posts, but not to communicate in these social networks. It's time consuming. But use Discord in order to communicate with your core audience. Why Discord? No ads, no rich cuts, no other info distracting your players. And maybe some of you are thinking like, come on, I have like super casual game. I'm not sure if players are going to join this Discord social network because it's for gamers. Should I? And the answer is yes. Even if you have a casual game, use Discord because it's super easy to manage, and we will be talking about that a bit later. And you also could use your Discord to publish FAQs and deflect questions from players. This will also allow you to decrease the workload for your support agents. So you can give to your players link to your Discord instead of giving them your email or support address. So players will be able to help each other inside your community. And it could also help your support agents, and it will also help you to decrease your budget. So the last but not the least, uh, very important stuff, that you can use your support email to cover only billing and privacy issues. All the rest could be managed inside your community, for example, by volunteers. And we will be talking about a bit later. And now we are going to talk about how to manage your community. The very important thing that your community must be a runway strip. Everything is super clear, the picture helps, a lot of signs and lights. So you must set up a certain rules and look after members if they follow these rules. It will help you a lot. It will help you keep your community healthy and productive. For example, check out our Discord for the Bully Reco game. Everything is super easy and clear. For example, news, links, and guidelines for our players, a bunch of general chats where then can communicate on different topics, and a bunch of chats for entertainment, which is also super important. And for example, you can check out our rules. They're strict but simple. And also, for example, we share the server invite to make the invitation of your friends super easy. Why not? But I understand that you might be asking yourself, how can I provide my mm, community members with 24 per 7 support, publish 5 posts per day, clean up bullies, gather feedback on the last update, and I don't know, collect ideas on how to name your new character and afford all I mentioned before without money? Like, I doubt. How could it work? And the answer that you need help and you don't need to waste your budget. So what to do? The answer is volunteers. Volunteers are people who love your product and ready to sacrifice something, some time and efforts in order to make it better. The involvement in something great, this is the reason why they do that. Being a part of something bigger historically leads humanity to progress. For example, Euro 2012 in Poland and Ukraine. More than 6,000 volunteers helped UEFA for free. Why? Because of involvement in something great. And I don't know if it's relevant for Poland, but in Ukraine, each third CV for gaming companies contains info about volunteering during Euro 2012. Why? Because the belonging, and we will be talking about belonging even more during the next slide. So the answer is volunteers, but how to find them? And answer is simple. Just ask your community if somebody is ready to help you, if somebody is ready to be closer to the product. Believe me, there are a lot of people in the world who want to help you just because you created a good game. Decide what you need help with and ask your players who are ready to help. And you will be surprised with the results. After you find your volunteers, you have to understand how to manage them. And I believe each of you knows how to manage people. Yeah, like that. But I'm going to give you 5 tips. First of all, you have to have working hours. When will they be working? After that, you have set up responsibilities, what they will do. After that, authorities, what they allowed to do. And of course, regular feedback. But please, keep it positive and supportive. These guys help you for free. Don't be an asshole. And the last point, that you have to have scheduled meetings to discuss the biggest problems, to make some sort of health checks, and please forget about micromanagement and treat your volunteers special because they help for free. What your volunteers can do for you. Volunteers can do everything, actually everything you want. For example, they can delete inappropriate comments, they can answer technical questions, they can create posts or gather feedback, they can help you manage your community after hard releases, they can help you choose best replies, and maybe they can even lead some online events or even tournaments. Delegate them everything you could because they will appreciate it. But don't forget about the most important rule. If you delegate responsibilities, don't forget to delegate the credentials so volunteers can work in the name of you. The feel of belonging will make them engaged. And speaking about the engagement, let's discuss how to motivate our volunteers. This picture clearly shows there are 2 groups of engagement factors. There are some hygienical factors, for example, hard currency once per week, or merch if you have merch, of course. Or if you're going to create one, don't forget about volunteers. And there are some motivating factors, such as respect, recognition, and involvement in some internal processes. I'm not going to explain you how to manage people right now because it will take weeks and weeks. But I just want to highlight that it's crucial to have a community manager with perfect soft skills, not only to control the damage and explain our decision to players, but also to manage and motivate volunteers, because volunteers will do a lot of work for you. Also, it's super important, especially if we have low budget, to measure the effectiveness. There are no ways to measure the effectiveness of community directly, but what I'd recommend is to first of all calculate social media KPIs. It's super easy, and here is a very simple formula. You have to take all the interactions with your community, for example, comments, likes, shares, and divide them by reach, and you will have engagement rate, just to check if people are still engaged with the content you have in your community. Also, it's always necessary to check in-game KPIs and see if they correlate with the community experience. For example, we launched the super difficult event and players told us that they're not going to keep playing this stupid game. But graphs show something different, the average DAU growth. Why? Because, yeah, this event is super difficult, but at the same time, it's super interesting. And this event encourages players to participate more, to play more. That's why our DAU growth. I'm also going to give you the second example. For example, your community liked the last event, but you check the numbers and you see that the event was too easy, so it didn't bring you money. You have to understand that. So the community management is a part of a product management. But don't forget to confirm every single piece of feedback with numbers. It's very important. Also, usually we can separate different sources of income in our analytical tools. Yeah, so it's technically possible to check out the effectiveness of features, for example, our players suggested. For example, you have a baseline of income you as a product manager have to deliver. The community suggested the new type of event and you decided to develop this feature. You asked your community manager to gather all the ideas about this event and to organize the first beta test, let's say in 1 month. After the release in early October, you see the new event brings you around 10K per month. So no doubt, community works. So thank you, community. Also, I'm going to give you a list of tools you can use to engage your community. I guess it could be helpful for those who don't know where to start. So one by one, let's go. First of all, welcome your newcomers. It's very important in order to keep your community healthy. Use content plans. It's always better to have plans because this is how you can prognose some metrics you need to get from your community. Also, I recommend you leading online chats with developers and community managers. Just imagine you have an opportunity to interview the guy who created his own game. It's super interesting, so give it to your players. Use or utilize user-generated content. It's crucial to use the stuff your players created because that's how you can show that you appreciate everything they do for your community. And also, it could decrease the workload for your designers or artists because you can use these pictures or this user-generated content for posts. Why not? It's cool to do that. Do some giveaways and contests in order to keep your community engaged. It's always nice to win something, and of course, you can do these giveaways with hard currency or whatever you have in your game. Also, support unofficial fan pages. It's very important because usually people who created fan pages are brand ambassadors or opinion leaders. So in case of emergency, it's better to have like nice relationships with these guys. Also, post news and lead polls. So you can keep your community up to date and also you can keep yourself up to date. For example, what do you think about that? What do you think about these? And it will help you to understand if you chose the right direction or not. So ask players about their opinions. Like, can you help us with that? We don't know what to do. Please help us to tweak something in the balance or whatever you need. And just to highlight one more time, ask your players for help. They would be happy to help you because that's how they could become a part of something bigger, the part of your super successful game. And we have almost done. And as promised, I'm going to give you an action plan of 9 steps as promised. So first of all, define what do you need a community for. Ask 2 questions in order to understand what do you need a community for and what players will receive from your community. After that, give players the link and some motivation to join your community. After that, prepare your airport to accept planes. After that, create rules and look after members if they stick to these rules. And ask your members for help and find and manage your volunteers. Use tools I gave you a moment ago and always measure the effectiveness. Okay, guys, we're done with this puzzle. Hope it was useful for you, but what is even more important, I hope it was inspiring for you. I guess you're all very charged enough with the fresh ideas and ready to act. Thank you very much. And I believe it's time for Q&A session.